Got traffic there. Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final. Runway 9 clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you clear to land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that. After 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. You'll notice that there's no Ian, as he's away in Vienna having a very well-earned break. So filling his seat is Annabelle Cook. Hello, Annabelle.
Hello, Ed.
You've got your antlers on to match my bobble.
Yeah, I have. Getting the Christmas spirit.
I know, yes. I'm not normally one for a Christmas hat, but I bought mine especially for the Flyer Christmas special, which we filmed last week and which you will get to see next week. Next week? No, week after.
Week after.
Week after. Yeah. So I might be a bit ahead of myself putting this on then. So.
Well, I think Johnny and I are just going bar humbug.
Bar humbug. Yeah. Well, maybe I was a bit too previous. So anyway, coming up tonight, later we'll be hearing from the legend that is Don Cameron, a truly pivotal figure in the world of hot air balloons, and founder of the world's biggest person-carrying balloon company, Cameron Balloons. In the news, we'll be looking at how you could buy a former big name in the world of general aviation. There's some news of some free flying available to young people. Some vertiport news, as I know you're all desperate for that, and how TBM is saying farewell to their EcoPulse project. Plus, Fancy Hangar is all about picking aeroplanes that seemed like a good idea at the time. But first, it's time to thank Sky Demon for supporting the show. We couldn't do it without them. And we've got a top tip, and it's from the one and only Rob Hart.
Hi, I'm Rob from Sky Demon, and here's another top tip.
The simulator is a useful part of Sky Demon, which can be activated by pressing the Simulate button here. In this mode, the navigation elements all work as normal, except that you can move the aircraft with your finger laterally and vertically too. This mode is really great for getting used to the various nav functions whilst in a low stress environment, rather than in the cockpit where you would normally use them. Additionally, the simulator allows you to explore settings and options such as what airspace you're being warned about and how far in advance. This way, when you go to use Sky Demon for real navigation, things are set up in a familiar way that is appropriate for your personal needs.
For more information, check out our website, www.skydemon.aero.
Hands up if you've used the simulate mode on Sky Demon.
Yep, to fly through airspace without permission.
It's like I've infringed. Yay. So no, I'm a bit worried because Rob says to use it in a low stress environment. That suggests he knows that my cockpit environment is high stress.
Absolutely.
I just think we should change Rob's music though. Yeah, he's not really a lightweight country and western person.
I love his cowboy music. It's so up his street.
He's more of an AC/DC man, I think. Heavy metal guys.
Well, maybe that's for next season. Maybe they all need new theme tunes. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So next up, we've got our friendly neighbourhood weatherman Simon, who isn't with us live this evening, unfortunately. Although there is no storm predicted for this weekend, so he might actually have a reason not to be here.
What's it going to be like? Let's find out.
Evening all, how are you? Hope that you are doing well. Sorry I'm not with you live this evening, but I'm alive, and that kind of helps, doesn't it? It looks like we're going into not too bad a weekend, actually. Tomorrow, not particularly brilliant, but Saturday, Sunday, particularly Saturday, are looking better days. This is the prediction for tomorrow. Weak warm fronts across Wales, southwest England. Really, that doesn't tell the entire story because I think we're still going to have a day of cloud, of mist, of drizzle, of murk, and bases for many of us below 1,000 feet, some fog over hills as well. Yes, there'll be a few brighter skies, particularly for eastern parts of Scotland, perhaps eastern parts of Ireland, some rain into northwestern Scotland later on, but for many of us it's light winds and not a brilliant day. I mean, it might be worth popping down the airfield if you just want to do a couple of circuits and hope that it clears, but I think for many of us it's just going to be murky through the day. What we have to wait for is for this cold front to clear its way southeastwards during Saturday. Take some outbreaks of rain with it, brighter air then flows in from the north and the west. Still a fair amount of cloud, but I think for most of us, it looks like being a really VFRable afternoon. Bases 3 to 4,000 feet typically, tops probably at around 12,000 feet. 1 or 2 showers affecting western coasts of Scotland, northwest England, northern and western parts of Wales, and some drizzle later on for the northwestern coast of Ireland. But for many of us, it's a decent day. Those northwesterly winds probably coming in at around about 15 to 17 knots. So a little breezy, but, you know, nothing too bad. Now, on Sunday, more moist air is back across the country. You see here on the cloud-based forecast, the ceiling forecast, low cloud showing for many areas. And I do think during the morning on Sunday, probably most of us will see low cloud. However, I think that low cloud then becomes restricted more to western coast and hills in the afternoon, leading to mostly non-VFR conditions here with the bases below 500 feet. But elsewhere, although it's breezy, particularly Scotland and Northern England, I do think that we probably go more into flyable conditions. 2,000 to perhaps 3,000 foot bases. Tops are up at about 7 to 9,000 feet. Always a fair amount of cloud around, but increasingly 1 or 2 breaks. Now, just watch out for gusty winds as well, particularly, I think, for eastern parts of Scotland, for northeastern parts of England. Typical of a stable air mass when a warm front has moved through and we're in that broad warm sector. Generally the winds westerly to southwesterly in Scotland at around 25 knots, maybe 30 knots in the west. Could get gusts though of up to 35 knots, perhaps 40 knots in eastern Scotland. Northeastern parts of England perhaps gusting 30 to maybe 35 knots. But for most of us, westerly winds coming in at around about 18 to 20 knots. So it is fairly breezy, lighter winds further south, I should say, but it's not that bad a day. Actually, like I say, though, I think out of all of them, Saturday is the pick for me. Now, Christmas is coming. I know many of you are already booking on my next Aviation Weather School online course. This is part 1 to be run on the consecutive Tuesday evenings between 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. of the 7th and the 14th of January. It's going to be presented live by me, and I'll show you how to spot weather windows 5 days in advance. I'll build your confidence with weather and understanding flying weather, taking you beyond the Met PPL so it finally sinks in and you understand what this sort of dark art of weather forecasting is all about, and you'll be forecasting yourself as well. So to book your place now, go to weatherschool.co.uk and it'll be absolutely super to see you there. And don't forget, that's where you can buy my pocket weather forecaster book and my Weatherwise DVD as well. Okay, I will leave you with the course. There we go. Have a fabulous and safe weekend. I'll be back with you live next week. Have a great evening, guys. Bye for now.
Oh, and then there were 3. Is that the 3 wise men?
No.
The 3 wise men.
Finger trouble. If you were wondering why that happened, Johnny disappeared while Simon was on and had to reboot himself, and then we forgot to add him back in.
Yeah.
You saying that Johnny's an AI?
Well, who knows?
Who knows?
Hold up your fingers. Have you got 11 fingers? Are you AI? Oh no. Oh. Yeah, I was a bit. But when at the end of that, Simon talked about his pocket weather forecaster, and you go, is that when I was disappointed when he said it was a book, as it's the idea of the pocket Simon. It's like little Simon to tell you what the weather's like. That would be amazing.
I'd love that.
Terribly, that'd be very weird.
As opposed to the huge, enormous, world's biggest Simon who's in a hot air balloon. Because I think you said something about the world's biggest person carrying balloon.
What was
I think we should move on from this point.
I don't remember that.
So anyway,
I see it in the comments. Anyway, news.
Yes, well, the big story this week is that the entire Luscombe factory is up for sale by auction. Wow. It includes all the manufacturing rights, type certificates, STCs, all the jigs and all the tooling, and there's a lot of it. There's metalworking tools, including presses and that good thing, the English wheel. Stock of existing parts is immense, lots of airframe parts, avionics, everything. Just a huge amount of stuff. It's become available as a result of the Luscombe Air Corporation, which was the 2021 attempt to put the Luscombe 8 back into production. They've gone into liquidation, obviously. And if you remember, that attempt was by entrepreneur Stephen Young, who, by the way, is now trading cryptocurrency, and respected aeronautical engineer Steve Testrake. Their plan was to offer a light sport version of the Luscombe 8, which would meet the weight limit of 1,320 pounds or 600 kilograms. They even had a sales leaflet offering a simple version of the aircraft for $110,000. It didn't work out, obviously, because they've gone into liquidation. Anyone taking it on needs A, to be very rich, and B, probably to be fairly foolish. It's one thing to have all the jigs and tools, quite another to legally manufacture and sell parts and aircraft. It's one of those fantastic aviation opportunities to turn a large fortune into a small one. And yes, if I won Euro Millions tomorrow night in a mega sum, I would take it on.
There. Oh, look at that! Yeah, breaking David's on Luscombe Factory.
Not yet.
When news of this being available broke on the internet, there were lots of people on the Flyer forum going, "Does Dave know about this?" Yes, Dave does know about this, and I presume all the type certificates are included as well. So you can become a fully fledged Luscombe manufacturer.
Yes, it's not clear at the moment from the auction details whether you get the actual factory, which is at an airport called Jamestown, near in New York State. But there's a lot there, huge amount there, which has been accumulated by those two guys over the years, and they were refurbishing it. Just looking at the jigs, pictures of the jigs, it's obviously quite complicated to put a Luscombe 8 together.
It's a lot of. I think the big deal is it's a lot of formed parts, isn't it? And forming parts is not easy. So, if you buy the business, you can support the world's collection of Luscombes. So it's got to be a bit of business there. So,
and let's not forget the Luscombe is the world's best two-seater, all-metal two-seater, high-wing two-seater.
It's just waiting for you. Do you just need to show your wife the auction? So you go, this is what I would like for Christmas.
It's going to be one of those eBay bids at midnight when I've had a couple of bottles of wine.
He says, do we know how much they're hoping for?
No, we don't. No. They're not disclosing that. Yeah.
So this has got me thinking. Obviously Luscombe had been in production, went out of production, back in. People. It's this ebb and flow of aircraft that go out of production and come back in. People going, hey, let's get this back into production. We all thought we would go and pick some things that had gone through that. What did you pick, Johnny?
The Grumman Albatross, which was going to go back into production with Amphibian Aircraft Industries. They designated it the G111T, and they were going to do away with the pistons and put some PT6s in. And their justification was it's a niche for an increasingly populous world and lots of rich people who could do all sorts of things with it. So that was news in, what was that, 2021, 22, something like that. So Annabelle.
So I discovered that back in 2017, Bell's aircraft of Chugiak, Alaska, don't shoot me if I pronounced that incorrectly, tried to put the Aeronautical sedan back into production after nearly 70 years. The plan was for it to be similar to the original, but with updated technology and performance. But I had a good look around, and it doesn't look like anywhere ever produced. Which is a real shame, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Dave, what did you
I chose the Great Lakes Sport Trainer. This is a rare beast, an aircraft which has actually made it back into production. Not in great numbers. In fact, I've only seen one on the Waco stand at Oshkosh. It's another of those aircraft like the Luscombe 8, which people have tried to put back into production several times. It's actually a very nice aircraft with a very strong reputation, offers aerobatics, but also the ability to cruise. It's not it's not a hard aerobatics aircraft like the Pitt Special. It's a more all-round aircraft.
I've got a feeling that the biplane that's made by Junkers now, which Junkers bought it from Waco, that might be the third or fourth time that's come back into production. So, it's amazing. I was reminded of this, the Windecker Eagle. which was in 1969 the first certified all composite design. Only 8 were produced at the time before the company ran out of money, and it was purchased again in 2015 and got flying. And that was for a Chinese entrepreneur, and there was rumours of that going back into production, and that in a few years, probably 20 years prior to that, there was talk of it being a turbine, but like all these things, I think your Great Lakes might be the best of the rebirths there, John, Dave.
There is just some late breaking news on that Luscombe auction.
You bought
Fernando
it.
Pinho has come up with this. The latest bid is $22.55 million.
Wow,
That was me, Dave. I just decided I was just going to buy it for you for Christmas.
If someone had said guess an amount, I would have said like $5 million. 22.5 is massive.
Maybe it does include the factory.
Yeah, I mean, Icon went for less than that.
That's bonkers. Yeah.
And the one we did miss from the resurrected airplanes was the Catalina.
Oh yes, was it last year? Someone said, "Hey, we're going to build new Catalinas."
Yeah.
Wow. Does the world really need Catalinas anymore?
That's it. Yeah.
Apparently.
I don't know. Mike Roberts says, "Oh no, I heard Dave's last bid was 22.2. Outbid again. Outbid again." Yes. So anyway, moving on from that, I've got a bit of news. Are you under 30 and need help to finish your PPL? So do you need some cash? Because we all know learning to fly isn't cheap. If you do, then you need to apply for the 2025 round of the LAAs, that's the Light Aircraft Association's Armstrong Isaacs bursaries. They will supply you with £1,500 if you're one of the people that they pick. And that will help you get your PPL. You need to be under 30, completed a minimum of 5 hours solo training, and have your medical and your ground qualifications. But if that sounds like you and you think you could use some free money, and oh no, I don't want to post all of that. That's a bad idea. Then follow this link, and that will take you to the LAA's website, and you can, hopefully you might be successful. I know that last year they didn't have a huge number of applications, so it's one of those things that you go, oh, I'll never get picked, but actually it's worth applying. So if you know someone who could benefit from this, point them in their direction, because you never know, you've got to be in it to win it.
I think the LAA say, sorry.
It's a shame I have it already.
One at a time, please. One at a time.
Yes. Go ahead, Annabelle.
So it's a shame I have my license already. Otherwise, I'd be right in there applying. It's the only thing stopping me.
You're overqualified already. So
I think the LAA say that they're really aiming at people who are on the last bit of their PPL. When the costs sort of ramp up, you've got examiner costs, you've got longer flights to do. So it's aimed at people who are the last bit of their PPL.
Yeah, definitely. Slightly left at the lights, Catkin says, did we find out what happened to Eric Tucker last week? Annabelle.
Yes. So you may remember that last week there was quite a large earthquake off the coast of America and a tsunami warning. So Eric has 2 kids, and both of his kids are at schools right next to the coast. So he was a little distracted by ensuring that his family was safe.
Very fair.
Yeah. So he is going to come back. I'm already talking to him about a retrial on that one.
Retrial.
You might be one of our recorded interviews for next season, wouldn't he? Yeah. Fabulous. Johnny.
Yeah, next up, some news from Bicester. The building work for a vertiport there for air taxis has started, which is part of their 400-odd acre site at Bicester Motion. It's being constructed by Skyport's infrastructure, which is part of the Advanced Mobility Ecosystem Consortium. So the construction is on a plot which is just under half an acre, which is going to include a compact 160 square metre passenger terminal. And Bicester is saying that it will be a critical facility for testing eVTOL flight ops, ground infrastructure, air traffic management, and will play a role in enabling the next generation of electric low noise aviation in the UK. Now, they say it will sort of work alongside the existing GA runways. And it's worth remembering that they did boot out all of the airplanes to put a karting track in one of the hangars, which is not great. Yeah, if we could, maybe we can visit next year and see an eVTOL flying around in the circuit with us. We'll have to.
I noticed that they've got a that looks like a vertical aerospace product, doesn't it? So
it's a VX4.
Yeah.
We could do karting as the Christmas special.
There's not a lot of difference between a vertiport and a helipad, though, is there?
No. I think a few people have picked up on that. So
is there a big letter V in the middle rather than an H?
And I suspect it was built with government funding.
You think? I suspect that's probably a key factor, isn't it? Is renaming your helipad. So yes, they're just, and John Milner says they're just electric helicopters. The rest is huff and puff. So, there we go. Annabelle, some TBM news.
Yes. EcoPulse, the hybrid electric aircraft demonstrator, has finished its program of test flights that aimed to evaluate the benefits of distributed propulsion. In other words, using several small engines instead of one or two big ones. The aims were to improve performance, reduce cabin noise, and increase efficiency. Since last November, it's accumulated 100 flight hours, delivering, I quote, crucial insights to meet the decarbonisation goals for air transport by 2050.
But what are the goals?
Well, yes, good question. I must admit, I was trying to read about this, and it did look like an awful lot of marketing fluff. It was quite actually difficult to pull out the key messages there. So it's obviously been a great success.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's probably accessed quite a bit of EU money as well.
Do you think?
Said a cynic in me.
Yeah. But I've got to say, that is.
It looks cool.
It does look cool.
And that's a cracking photo.
It is a bit bonkers, and it is one of those. This is the inspiration for our fancy hangar a bit later. Is this whole, seemed like a good idea at the time. Is it going to stick? I don't know. But it does. Hey, at least they managed to. Was it NASA who had the X-57 Maxwell with all the motors on the wings, which we got to see because they canned the project. So at least TBM gave us a look at something like that. So
distributed propulsion is the way forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Imagine flying through a flock of birds though with that thing.
I don't think you'd want to fly through a block of flags.
No.
You'd need to feather the props, wouldn't you?
Very
or
good.
would you squawk? Shall we move on?
No. Oh, you're full of the puns there.
Full of something, yeah.
Dave, help us out with PCL news. Save us from Annabelle.
Yep. So you may have noticed that we've launched the Pilot Careers Live Professional Flight Training Awards. It's the first time we've done this, and they're aimed at the professional pilot training industry rather than the private. And there's all sorts of categories there. We're looking for nominations. Nominations are open right now, and they close in February. So if you're a professional pilot, or if you work in what's known as an approved training organisation or an ATO, and you think there's someone within your organisation who's done very well, whether that's a student or an instructor, or somebody who's contributed over a long period of time, there's a category open for you to nominate people in it. We're not looking to give awards to ATOs themselves. That would be just a touch too difficult, I think. So it's the people inside those ATOs, really.
Yeah, and I think there's already nominations not flooding in, but floating in. So
that's right. And if you want to know more about it, you can either look on the Flyer website where there's a story, or on the Pilot Careers News website where there's the same story.
Excellent.
But in different colours.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, good. Matthew says, "I'll pass this around, fellow L3 students." Matthew, please do.
There you
This
go.
is exactly what this is all about. So,
Yep.
brilliant, good stuff. Johnny, some club news.
Yeah, for club members, thank you for joining us. If you're not a member, good time of year to join with the whole year ahead. Join for £5 a month or £52 for the year. And we've got 2 years worth of webinars you can catch up on now. The most recent having been Mark Greenfield's webinar on forced landings. And we also had Harry Lee's avionics webinar in November. For December, we've got Audley End, Solent, Tibenham, Yatesbury, and 50% off Sandown landing fees. So you can, if you can find the time to fly, you can save some money. And then I think Annabelle's got a couple of options for January.
Yes. Yeah, we've got 2 fantastic airfills that are partnering with us in January for the first time, both of them the first time in over 10 years. So Flyer Club members, put it in your diaries, Swansea and Retford Gamston.
Wow.
Yeah, both destinations for January.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah, good ones as well. Yeah. All change at Swansea, so it'd be good to go down there and see what they're getting up to.
Yep.
Yes.
And you could fit in with the driverless cars at Gamston.
Good stuff. Right. So last week, Ian took a trip to Bristol to meet Don Cameron MBE, founder of Camera Balloons and truly one of the biggest names in the world of ballooning. With masses of sport balloons, record breakers and special shapes to Cameron's credit, it's fair to say Don's influence is vast. As one of the few aeronauts to be awarded the Harmon Trophy as the world's outstanding aviator in 1999, Don was also appointed member of the Order of British Empire in 2014 for services to design and manufacturing. So let's hear what he had to say to Ian.
Thank you very much for agreeing to sit down and talk to us. First of all, congratulations. I understand you've been running a general aviation business effectively for 50 years, which is no small
a little bit over that.
A little bit over that?
Yes, unfortunately.
Wow. Well, I think it's probably a good idea to go back to the very beginning and ask how you got into it, because I heard on the grapevine there was alcohol involved.
Well, yes, I usually put it down to drink because I was a member of a gliding club. I'd been in aviation really since making model airplanes as a child, and when I came to join the Bristol Airplane Company in Bristol, I joined the gliding club to keep getting airborne. And in the bar in the evening, we would talk about various aviation subjects, and someone mentioned about balloons, and we started investigating it, and we found that the new type of hot air balloon had just been invented in America, and we ended up building our own, which was the Bristol Bell.
And you built what? You just got together and cut out some fabric and sewed it together?
Yes, we did. We had various people who had some talent to do it. 2 of us were aeronautical engineers. One of us was quite an experienced gas balloonist, and the actual construction was done at a parachute company.
Okay, and then, I mean, out of that, this is an amazing building in Bedminster in Bristol. And I think it's probably one of the biggest balloon factories in the world.
Well, it's certainly getting there.
In terms of your ballooning, did you kind of give up gliding and focus entirely on building and flying balloons?
More or less, I slipped out of gliding when I started to become active in balloons. There are only so many hours in the day. Ballooning is best in the early morning and in the evening. And gliding is best in the middle of the day when the thermals are going. So at one time we thought we'd be able to do things all day, but I don't think we had enough stamina for that.
Talking of stamina, I mean, I guess many people know balloons from their kind of effectively a tourist flight. So lift off from maybe somewhere in Bath or something like that, and then fly for, I don't know, 40 minutes or half an hour or something and land in a field. But I think I also read you did a bit of long distance ballooning. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, long distance ballooning is fascinating. we very much enjoyed, I've enjoyed doing it, and we've enjoyed arranging it for other people. I tried to fly the Atlantic on one occasion in 1978 and got to within 100 miles of France but didn't quite make it. And then in 1992 I took part in the Transatlantic balloon race and made it that time, landing in Portugal.
Okay, so let's just go back a step. Transatlantic balloons, I presume, are not your normal hot air balloon that you would do that in.
No, a hot air balloon wouldn't make it. You have to be able to fly for several days. We use a type of balloon called a Rosier. It's named after Pilatre de Rosier, who invented the idea and who unfortunately died on his first flight with this type of balloon, because the hydrogen caught fire. But we use the helium, which is not flammable and makes the whole idea feasible.
So how does a Rosier balloon differ from a hot air balloon?
The Rosier balloon is mainly filled with helium,
yeah,
but it has a hot air space underneath. When a regular gas balloon flies, in the evening the gas cools and you have to throw out maybe 15% of the system weight. And this means that you can only fly for a certain length of time. 4 days is about the limit for a regular gas balloon. But with the Rosier, instead of throwing out ballast, you heat the gas using fuel to keep it warm. And it turns out that the weight of fuel that you must use is far, far less than the amount of ballast that you'd have to throw out. So this means you can fly for very much longer.
Across the Atlantic, in fact?
Yes. A pure gas balloon can just about get across the Atlantic. But we've built balloons that have flown around the world. The first one flew for 20 days.
Okay, and that was a Rosier balloon?
That was a Rosier.
So,
I don't think any gas balloon has ever flown for 20 days.
Okay, so coming back to your first Atlantic crossing, where you ended up 100 miles short of France, that was, you were basically out of fuel?
We weren't out of fuel, no. We could have flown longer, and maybe we could, but we'd run out of wind going in the direction of France.
Oh, okay.
And we were in an area that was beginning to show signs of heavy thermal activity, which is never much fun in a balloon. But I've often wondered if we'd managed just to stay around there for a couple of days, if we'd have picked up another wind. But of course we were very exhausted by that time. But anyhow, there we are. We decided to stop at that point.
The second time you made it, you landed in Portugal?
Yes, that's right.
And that was presumably, apart from, was that a different skill set or better weather, or?
More experience, I think. We'd learned a lot more about it by that time. But it was quite interesting. We finally got near to Portugal and we spoke to the air traffic controller, and he said, you should consider landing on the beach, because he said it's nothing but mountains and forest in this part of the country. So we came in and we approached the beach, and as we came low, the wind turned left and we were going along and we were getting no nearer to the beach. So we had to go up again to get the wind going in and then come down and then land on the beach like it was a runway.
So I mean, for that kind of thing, have you still got a retrieve crew trying to follow you to find you, or?
On that kind of flight, it's very difficult. We have a control center. So when we landed, we got the HF radio working again and let them know where we were. And the retrieve then set off and would take 24 hours to reach us.
Back to the challenges around Cameron balloons as opposed to Don Cameron's balloon flying. You became pretty well known for, I think you pretty much invented the whole special shape market.
Yes, I think we were the first to make a hot air balloon as a special shape, and I think we still make most of those. It's again a thing that we like doing quite a lot.
Absolutely. Have there been many that someone's brought along a sketch and said, I'd like one of these, and you've just gone, like, can't do that.
We try not to say that, but I've been asked what shape could you not do, and I've said a pedal bicycle would be difficult. You have to have a bit of volume to it, but if you don't have volume, then it would be better to have artwork on the side of a regular balloon.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, is there a rule of thumb that says, I don't know, what the volume of balloons is measured in, presumably in cubic meters, is it?
Yes, cubic meters or cubic feet.
Or cubic feet. Is there a rule of thumb that says for this much payload you need this much volume?
Yes, the lift you can get is about 8 or 9 kilograms for each 1,000 cubic feet.
Wow.
So that means you can pretty well calculate what volume you need to lift any given payload.
And the biggest balloon you've ever built?
Biggest one is one that we built for an altitude record by a Russian pilot, and in fact it's still here because we're not allowed to ship any aviation products to Russia.
Oh, so it's a recent?
Fairly recent. Well, it's been here for 2 or 3 years now.
So and that's for an altitude record of a hot air balloon?
Yeah.
I presume if it's a hot air balloon altitude record, do you know off the top of your head what the altitude record is for a hot air balloon?
It's the altitude is around something like 70,000 cubic feet, a bit over.
Wow, that's
70,000 feet, sorry.
Yeah.
Not cubic feet. So that's more than twice the height that airliners fly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and presumably you've also, I mean, apart from the fact that it's going to be pretty windy, wind shear, and all sorts of other things on the way up, there's going to be, you know, the envelope is presumably also going to expand.
Well, the envelope has to be big to start with. It doesn't really expand much if it's made of regular fabric, but it'll be a very low super temperature at the start. But once it gets up to the point where the air is so thin that buoyancy is limited, the limit is that you have to heat the balloon so hot that you can't go any further.
So, if my body clock changed and I suddenly discovered that I liked getting up early in the morning and I wanted to buy a balloon, and I knocked on your door and said I'd like just a normal four-person balloon, please, or two-person balloon, something quite small, not a commercial balloon. What's the kind of time it takes from putting the order in for my specific colour? No special shapes, just a...
The time it takes varies quite a lot. If you come to us now in the winter time, we can probably turn it around fairly quickly. In the summertime, sometimes it goes out to several months.
Okay, and fairly quickly might be what, a month or two or something, or?
Well, I would say about 8 weeks if we're not hurrying, but if someone comes to us with a real need to have it quickly, then we can do an express order on it.
Okay, so over the years, clearly you've gained quite a lot of respect, not only in the aviation world, but in the wider world. And I was looking at some photos the other day, and I suppose this particular picture appears to be you with the Queen. And
that was a wonderful moment when Bertrand Piccard and Brian Jones had used our balloon to fly around the world, and it was the first to fly around the world. So we were due to have a visit from the Duke of Edinburgh, and he and the Queen were in Bristol on that day, and the Queen was visiting other places. And I remember the Lord Lieutenant saying, if they make it round the world, the Queen will come as well.
And there she is.
And there she is.
And during that whole project, it was the first around the world trip, how quietly confident were you in the balloon?
Well, we weren't confident at all, because we'd built or perhaps a dozen or more balloons for people attempting to fly around the world. And as we learned more, they got further and further. But this was the one that finally made it.
So during that whole process, is there kind of like a control center here? Does everyone get updated every morning? How closely do you follow?
Well, there's a control center somewhere. In fact, the control center for this flight was in Geneva Airport. We had a whole suite of rooms given to us to run the control center. And when the flight started, I was in the control center for a while. And it was quiet. In the watches of the night, everything was dead quiet in these airport rooms. And I came back to Bristol and then went out towards the end of the flight. And by that time, everybody realized that they were about to make it. And there were television vans outside and cables snaking into the control room. And it was a totally different scene.
Can you tell me about this picture?
That picture is a picture taken during the Transatlantic balloon race, where I'm flying with my colleague Rob Bailey. And as you can see, it looks a bit like a gypsy caravan with all the stores slung outside. But it's a sea survival gondola with a burner. The thing hanging on the right is a generator. And we have various fuel tanks all around. You can see a trail rope on the left because that's useful in a gas balloon for landing. We don't use them in hot air balloons.
Of all the kind of special projects, I don't really mean special shapes, but I mean kind of world records, altitude records, endurance, whatever other records there are. What's been your favourite? What would you say is your biggest achievement as far as that's concerned? And which one, if there is one indeed, would you look back on and go, I wish I'd never even got involved in that, it was such a pain?
I don't think there are any that were such a pain. I think everyone is their favourite one at the time. But obviously the round-the-world flights were the pinnacle in terms of achievement, I suppose. And we've had 3 of those. Bertrand and Brian did the first one. And then Steve Fawcett took off from Australia and went around the world and landed back in Australia again. And this was in an unpressurized gondola. Steve Fawcett was an amazing character. He lived high in the Rockies so that he could accustom himself to low oxygen levels, which meant that he could survive better in an unpressurized gondola. Then the third one was a Russian pilot. We were still supplying aviation products to the Russians in those days. This was 2016. And he is quite a character. He's done all sorts of adventurous things like rowing a boat across the Pacific Ocean from New Zealand to Tierra del Fuego. And he flew around the world. Quite a tricky flight. Went across the Pacific very well, but as he passed South Africa, the winds took him down near to Antarctica. And this was winter time, so it wouldn't have been a good time to be there. But the meteorologists had it under control. They knew that he would enter a wind taking him back up. And he came back and he overflew the control center in Australia, only a few miles from where he'd taken off. He didn't land at that time because he wanted to land in the evening with calmer air. So he flew on further and landed in Australia.
You have to have a kind of a long-term mindset, it seems to me, in a billion, where you're kind of, particularly in one of those record billions, where you're kind of, but you said earlier, if we'd have hung around for a couple of days, I mean, that, for someone who doesn't fly balloons, who flies aeroplanes, is like the thought of, well, I've got an hour's fuel left, not a couple of days' fuel. It's,
when you're up in a long-distance flight, it gives you the feeling of being separated from the world, probably something like people feel in a space capsule, because you can communicate with people by radio, but other than that, you're just quite separate. If you've forgotten to bring anything, then forget it. You're not going to have it. And you're going to be several days. I remember getting this feeling on the Atlantic flights. And then when we flew to the Soviet Union, it was almost surprisingly different, because I remember flying over the middle of Copenhagen in the early evening, looking down and seeing all the people going into restaurants and things. And we were much nearer to the real world than we were flying in the Atlantic.
Presumably some of that is now going to change. I mean, I'm imagining that every long distance around the world flight will probably have Starlink internet on board and be zooming to their friends and family, and sponsors and all sorts of other people, and that kind of feeling of isolation and
Yeah,
otherworldliness might go.
Flying long distance balloons has already changed. Every expedition that happens, it's different communications equipment, but and navigation equipment. I remember on the first flight in 1978, I relied mostly on astronavigation, using a sextant, and I had taught myself to use it, and taking a sighting of the stars and the moon and the sun.
Yeah, that's a pretty funky way of navigating.
We had to get subsequent position estimates, and from that you could work out the speed we were doing. But nowadays you can use your GPS and you can just read off the speed. And of course it makes it very much better, because if you want to know what winds you have at different heights, you can just do an excursion down to the surface and back up again and make notes of the wind direction and speed, and you can plan your flight more effectively.
Is there any trend at all in the ballooning world anywhere for a move towards electric? I mean, people are talking about electric aircraft and drones and cars and
yes,
everything else.
We're very conscious of the fact that we'd like to be a little more green, but an electric balloon is pretty much impossible. An electric car is much heavier than a regular car, and that doesn't matter if you've got wheels on the road. But a balloon can't take the extra weight of batteries that would be enough to produce the quite strong amount of heat that we need. But we can use biofuel, and it's just a question of signing up for that. You pay a little bit more, but you're using biological fuel, and you don't need to modify your burner, because actually what happens is if you pay the gas company more, they put more biofuel feedstock into the mixture, but it's still the same propane lorry that turns up and fills your tank. So you don't need to worry about modifying anything.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the kind of balloon enthusiasts around the world who might look at this, and in the UK, and of course the Flyer live stream viewers?
Goodness, I don't know. Keep flying is the main thing.
Keep flying.
It's ballooning is the most wonderful way of flying. You can fly low and you can talk to people on the ground. You can, and it's a thing that is very practical. More like boating than flying, I suppose. And it's also a thing that's very social, because it needs a few people to put a balloon up and to have a chase crew. So it builds friendships as well.
So one of the key questions that many people are going to be wondering is, if they want to get into ballooning and they decide that one day they want to own their own balloon, if we're just talking about a balloon for sport, no special shape, nothing special, give me a rough price range of what it's going to cost for someone to be able to buy a balloon, and how long could they expect that balloon to last?
Asked this question, and I'm usually out of date, but I would say it's about £30,000, which is quite expensive for the average person. So people tend to club together to do it, or even better, to find a sponsor if they don't mind flying with an advertisement on the side of the balloon. So there are ways of doing it. But for people thinking of starting, the thing would be to join your local balloon group and get involved in a bit of crewing for a while. And if you crew for somebody, they'll give you a flight sooner or later, hopefully. So it's a way of getting started.
And how long does a balloon last?
A balloon lasts for, well, typically we would say maybe 400 hours. It doesn't sound a lot, but if you're flying even once a week, that would be 8 years. The envelope, of course, can be renewed. The basket and burner last indefinitely.
Lastly, after kind of 50 years of running a GA business and building one of, if not the biggest balloon factory in the world, how could you summarise that? Can you summarise that journey in a kind of couple of short sentences?
Well, it all seems to have gone by in a flash. But here we are. Time moves on, and there have been a lot of developments and a lot of great experiences. So I'm not regretting it.
Excellent. Don Cameron, thank you very much.
It was, and I was muted. There
We're all muted.
It was so nearly perfect. What a titan! Yeah, there's not many like Don, are there? And what an amazing character.
A really nice man, I think, by the sound of it.
Yeah, and that's just that's just an amazing interview. I'm very envious of Ian being able to go along and spend some time with him, because that seems like that is there's not many like him, are there? Really? So
I did find one of his brilliant balloons. Actually, I found a picture of one of his brilliant balloons, which hopefully he's got there somewhere on the system.
Yes. Oh, this is the Cameron McDonald's balloon.
Yeah, built for Holland apparently. But
I love this. Yeah. Johnny, you found.
I found a tray of beers.
A tray of beers.
Go with a burger and chips.
Burger and chips. Tray of beer. Well, then clearly what you need, and I know this was Annabelle's favourite, wasn't it, is you then need a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
What I love about this, I love the idea of just finding a little row of trees and just getting airborne just behind them.
Yes, very good. No, that would be a nice surprise to appear above trees. I went completely normal. I looked in the repertoire of Camerons, and I went, I want that. I want a Cameron airship. That looks brilliant. And I've just realised it looks like it's got some kind of Santa sleigh underneath it.
And wheels.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Cool
I'll take that. Though I think that might be the winner here for me. But clearly fantastic. So Dan Smith, does he have a book? Does anyone know? Does Don Cameron have a book?
I'll Google it now.
Yeah.
While you Google that, I will just say that, Ed, are you a Flyer Club member?
I am a Flyer Club member, yes.
So I'm chatting with the Cameron Balloons factory about a very, very exclusive tour. There will basically be 4 spaces.
Wow.
And me, obviously, because I'm organising it, I get one. But yes, Flyer Club members, if you are interested in visiting the factory, they have said that they will put on a little tour for a small number. So I'm talking about probably doing that sometime in early spring.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I'm sure you will announce news to members, and it'll be a first come first serve, won't it? So yeah, very good, cool. Right. So anyway, we're bang on time. So it must be time for. Excellent. So we obviously heard in the news how TBM were retiring their EcoPulse technology demonstrator. It's a good idea in someone's head, and that made us think, what other designs it's where someone's gone, that's a good idea, we should do that. There's definitely a market for that. So who's first?
I think I'm first on the list.
Are you first
I chose the ATG Javelin. It's a small personal jet that looks like a military jet fighter. It's a brilliant idea. It began in 1998 with the formation of a company called Aviation Technology Group, ATG, in Colorado, USA. It was intended as a $3 million 2-seat civil jet sport plane. Excellent, brilliant, it's getting better. And there was a mock-up, which was unveiled and displayed at NBAA convention in 2002. The prototype had its maiden flight. It actually flew in September 2005. But a couple of years later, they ran out of money, as you do. 2007 was just before the financial crisis, I remember, but it was obviously on the horizon. Sorry?
It looks like a good idea.
Yes, I think it's a brilliant idea. And it resurfaced in 2017 with a company called Stavati as a possible candidate. There was a big thing going on for an advanced trainer for the US Air Force.
Yeah.
And if you won that particular contract, you're made for life and producing aircraft. And you could also sell it around the world to other air forces looking for a cheap trainer. They didn't get it, didn't go anywhere.
But so far, no Javelin.
No, which is a real shame. I think the world would be better.
Yeah. it makes me. Immediately you go, oh, BD10, but that looks way cooler than a BD10. So
yeah.
Pretty conventional. Right, who's next? Oh, it's me.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Okay. So I picked this, the Wing Derringer. Pretty conventional until you learn that it is just it's a personal two-seat twin. Because obviously what people want is two-seat twins. They don't want twins because they're big and you can carry a bunch of stuff. The Derringer was originally designed by John Thorpe, but it was a guy called George Wing of the High Shear Corporation. That's a good American name, isn't it? Who turned the concept into a real aeroplane. It's room for two 160 horse Lycoming engines, beautifully built. The Derringer was a precision engineered machine, even used chemically milled aluminium skins. Even though it was certified in 1966, High Shear didn't manage to get it into production. But when George Wing left the company and started Wing Aircraft in 1978, then Derringer started to appear. The trouble was that even though it was fast, 180 knots, and had great handling, when it went on sale, it was $130,000 with options. And that's $420,000 today, which actually that doesn't seem too bad. But fundamentally, no one wanted a two-seat twin. And the company built one pre-production aircraft, 6 production aircraft followed, and into bankruptcy in July 1982. And then only one other aeroplane was sold. They were left with 7 unfinished aeroplanes, which I think got sold by people over time. Interestingly, this is one of those stories that we could have been talking about earlier with aeroplanes that could go back into production. Because in 1988, someone went, hey, that Derringer, that could be useful, and we'll turn that into a 2+2 seater. That didn't happen either. But I still think it's uber cool, and I really, really want one. So, what's up next?
It's
I think it must be
Annabelle.
me.
Annabelle.
So, yes, in honor of Don Cameron, I have chosen another example of inflatable ingenuity. In the 1950s, Goodyear put the air in aeroplane when they started designing and building inflatable rubber aircraft. The inflator plane was small enough to fit into the back of a car and had an empty weight of around 90 kilos. And to inflate the aircraft, you start with a hand pump, and I did find on YouTube a video of this being done. You run the engine then to build up pressure of just 8 psi, which is needed to expand it to full size. According to Goodyear, they could be ready to fly in just 5 minutes. So the idea was that the military could put the inflator plane behind enemy lines, allowing pilots to fly themselves back to safety. The engine would maintain the air pressure, so it could take a few hits with small arms fire, but finding a suitable takeoff space, bimbling through hostile territory at 55 knots just wasn't really that viable. There were also a couple of incidents during testing that resulted in the wing folding in mid-air. 12 prototypes were built, including a two-seat version, and testing continued until the 1970s when the project was permanently deflated. But actually, I think this is a brilliant idea and maybe not such a letdown. You could pop one in the car and take it on holiday. Just imagine driving to Scotland in the pouring rain. When the sun does burst out, you could simply nip to the local airfield and get it up.
Is this punity hanger tonight?
I love this. I just love the idea of this.
I like the fact that you can shoot holes in it 6 times and it's 5.
Well, the 7th one is a bit of a problem.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Someone has said, Cat Burton says, my eyes.
Yeah.
That just leaves Johnny. Johnny, what have you gone for?
Yeah, so I've gone for something called the Avtec 400, which was designed by Al Mooney. It was a prototype turboprop-powered, low-wing, monoplane, twin pusher mounted above the wings. And obviously the kind of elephant in the room is the large canard atop the forward fuselage. Very sleek, futuristic, lots of use of advanced composites. which earned it a starring appearance, I think, in at least one episode of Airwolf, when it was used by the villain Lou Stapleford. And in 1998, sadly, Avtec declared bankruptcy without having fully completed the prototype. And then it was bought again in 2004 by a new company who turned themselves into Avtec Air and changed it to the 9000T. And the website still exists, so you can actually go and look at it, but nothing's ever come from it. So
I have to say, yeah, it's season 3, episode 7 of Airwolf. If you want to watch the Avtec 400 being used as a villainous aeroplane, and it flies along and nearly shoots Airwolf down, but don't worry, spoiler alert, Airwolf survives.
And Ed didn't even need to look that up; he already knew.
As a small child, I witnessed said thing, and I think your Avtec 400 pips my wing Derringer. That is an awesome machine. Interestingly, sponsored by DuPont.
Here he goes.
Yeah, sponsored by DuPont, the composite makers, because it used Kevlar and Nomex honeycomb, which was apparently you could make it without any special tooling. You just needed molds, and there are some videos online of that, of it being assembled and being flown. It is a very cool looking thing. I just look, and it kind of looks a bit bigger than it is, because it looks, when you see photos of it nowadays, and it's still sat out on a ramp somewhere in the States, slowly mouldering into the tarmac. But it is actually quite a tiny little thing, but a real hot ship. So
yeah. So
what did you think in the comments? What have we got? We have. Sorry, I'm back in the balloon comments. Right. Here we go. David Eads says the Czech aircraft company made an aeroplane called the Mermaid. How about that? That's really dull, Ed. Thanks, Nick. I do. I like it. I think it looks like a sporty Baron. Yeah. Can I just say how full and thick Johnny's tash is this week? Philip's Speed Twin has just come to mind. I did think of that, Martin. That's another. It's like, yeah, surely there's a market for that. No, there wasn't. Richard Back had a Derringer, as did Ernest Gann. Both of them lived on the same island, so who knows? Maybe they both had Derringer at the same time. Your dad says, "Are we keeping you awake, Johnny?" That was designed by an inflated ego. That must be. Yes. Annabelle wins 3-axis whoppy fly. No, I think we're not having you come up with any names for aeroplanes, Mike. Death Trap then. Notwithstanding the odd drawback, wing folding up in flight, Annabelle's choice has to win. Not the puns though.
Oh, come on.
Annabelle wins for puns. I was just typing out a list of puns. Annabelle is the queen. Puncture repair kit as standard. Johnny wins. Drunk designer. I don't think so. I think the Avtec's pretty cool. Dan Smith says that canard useful for shading the cockpit. Looks like AI someone asked AI to draw a wacky aeroplane. Maybe we should do that. That should be a challenge next week. AI aeroplane design. Johnny's moustache wins. Eddie, you were never a small child. I was a nerd. Yeah. Annabelle wins. It might be an inflato win for Annabelle. Avtec 400 looked better than the same era OMAC. The OMAC. Oh yeah, do the googling of OMAC 1. That's not a pretty aeroplane. Ed, how can anyone know stuff like you? I'm just dull, Derek. It's dull childhood.
There's a reason I call him Encyclopedia.
Dave wins tonight. Ed wins with Derringer. I think it's an Annabelle. The puncture repair kit. Dave wins. It's a late Dave wins. So, Dave, have you got? And talking of Dave wins, has Dave got any events?
Right. Well, there's various Christmas events going on, and you can find them on the website. The next flying events are on New Year's Day 2025. There are 2 we know of so far. One at Bodmin, one at Slape. If you know of any more, let us know.
Fantastic. Well, it just remains to me to say thank you, Annabelle, for stepping in for Ian. Dave and Johnny, thanks for being here. What a great interview the Don Cameron one was. And like Annabelle says, watch out if you're a Fly Club member for the special trip, maybe next trip to the factory next year. As it is, we'll see you next week, Wednesday at 3 o'clock for the Skystream Extra. Otherwise, see you here at 7:30 next Thursday for good old regular live stream. Thanks, guys. See you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, this video is sponsored by us, the Fly Club. And if you're not a member already, we'd love for you to join.
Members get access to all of our content, our free landing fees every month, exclusive webinars, and much, much more.
It costs just £5 per month to become a member, so head on over to flyer.co.uk/membership or click the link in the description below.
It's a proper good deal.
It's a bargain.